Many thanks also, Oliver, for giving us the opportunity to be with all of you today. Through my presentation, I will try to give you an overview of the Swiss business environment, and I will try as much as possible to share concrete and useful insights that you will be able to use in your daily business. The program for this session is as following. So I will start by introducing the main company forms in order to give you an overview of the specificities of each forms. Here I will explain the main advantages and disadvantages of this form. What are the setting up costs and the amount of capital needed to create them. And I will also give you some information about the related procedures to set up these companies. In section 2, I will share with you some information about the tax environment in Switzerland, such as VAT, import taxes, or fiscal differences between cantons. Then in chapter 3, I will mention some sources where you can find legal advices and useful information. In section 4, I will explain you how you can proceed to do a checkup before exporting to Switzerland, and in order to be best prepared to sell your product or services on the Swiss market. Finally, I will share some information about posting workers in Switzerland if you have a project here. At the end, we gathered some useful links in the last section in order for you to be able to access directly to concrete information and documents. So let's start with an overview of the company forms. Even if in Switzerland there are more company forms than the 3 presented here, we decided to focus on the 3 most frequent company forms that are used by foreign firms. These 3 forms are the stock corporation, AG or in German, or SA in French, the limited liability company, also known as GmbH or SARL in Switzerland, and the branch office. All these forms have their specificities. For example, the stock corporation is mainly adapted for medium to large companies, where the limited liability company, LLC, is more adapted for small and medium businesses. The branch office is generally always part of a mother company. So the mother company can be a Swiss or a foreign firms, but the branch office has to remain in the same activity of the mother company, but it still have a certain degree of autonomy. Regarding the name of the company, you are quite free for the 2 first company forms, while for the branch office you have to use the name of the mother company and respect a specific order, as you can see in the table. Now, what are the main advantages of each forms? For the stock corporation and the LLC, the liabilities and the financial risk is limited. So it means that you are not personally responsible for the company in case of debt or legal problems, for example. Another advantage that is common to the first 2 forms is that the company can be owned by a foreign firms or a foreign citizen. But in any cases, it has to have 1 representative based in Switzerland. Moreover, with the stock corporation and the LLC, the local character of the company is stronger compared to the branch office because you are locally implanted in Switzerland. And in addition, for the stock corporation, you benefit of the shareholder anonymity. So it means that the partners are not published in the commercial registry, which is not the case for the LLC. This information is published in the commercial registry for LLC. For LLC, the advantage compared to the stock corporation is that you need a lower capital amount to create the company. And regarding the branch office, the advantages are mainly that you do not need to bring new capital for the creation of the company. The capital of the mother company is used as a guarantee. It is also simpler and often cheaper to set up the branch office. But we will look at the setting up cost later. Still, one other interesting aspect for the branch office is that the mother company of the branch office can often benefit from a tax exemption for profits realized in Switzerland. So they can reduce the tax they pay in their home country. Now, what are the main advantages of each company forms? Well, for the stock corporation and LLC, the setting up costs are higher, and the process implies to mandate a notary. So it is also more complex because you need to establish new statutes of the company. The minimum capital required for stock corporation is also higher, and as we will see in the next slide, for the LLC, the anonymity of shareholder is not possible, so this information is accessible in the commercial register. Regarding the branch office, the first disadvantage is that the mother company is legally and financially responsible for the branch office. So some companies prefer to separate the risk by creating an independent entity in Switzerland. From a tax perspective, it could be more complex because the mother company has to differentiate between benefits realized in Switzerland and benefits realized abroad. It also lacks the Swiss character of the company, which could be important when you are doing business with local actors. Now, for setting up costs, the cost of setting up a company and the capital required depends on the form selected, as we have said before. So here you see for the stock corporation that the minimal amount of capital is 100,000 Swiss francs or euro, that is quite the same now. And for the LLC company, it is quite less, so the minimal amount is 20,000 Swiss francs or euro, so it's quite less. On the other hand, no capital is needed for the setting up of a branch office, so it is an advantage compared to the two other company forms. Concerning the cost of setting up a company, they are a little bit higher for stock corporation and LLC companies because it requires to go through a notary. And in Switzerland, such as everywhere, notary are quite expensive. The price ranges goes from 1,500 Swiss francs to 5,000 Swiss francs or euro. For a branch office, it is a little bit less because the process doesn't require to go through a notary. So you can do the procedure by yourself. Now, how to open a legal entity in Switzerland? So as we have seen previously, the company form selected will impact the procedure that you will have to follow to set up the company. But in average, we estimate that it needs 5 to 6 weeks to be registered in the commercial register. According to us, the most easy and the less expensive is to open a branch office, because you don't need to bring in new capital, and that you don't have to go through a notary, so it is less complex as well. But of course, it depends what are your needs. Some documents, such as company statutes or extract from the commercial registry from the home country, need sometimes to be translated if they are not available in unofficial languages or in English. Now, what is the tax environment for business in Switzerland? So one interesting fact in Switzerland is that we have the lowest VAT rate in Europe, while in most surrounding countries, the general VAT rate is around 20%. In Switzerland, it is only 7.7% for the general rate. There are also reduced rates for hotels and essential products such as food, water, or books. So 2.5 for food, water, and books, and 3.7% for hotels services. So you have to consider this in your price setting when coming when selling in Switzerland. Another aspect that you have to consider when exporting to Switzerland is the import taxes. As Switzerland is not part of the European Union, it can apply import taxes on different products. For instance, in the food sector, many products are also produced in Switzerland are protected by import taxes. And we will see just later how you can check what are the taxes applying to your product and other non-tariff barriers. Additional taxes also apply on specific products such as alcoholic beverages, tobacco products, or oil products. So you have to keep that into account as well. Another fiscal aspect which can affect your business in Switzerland is the tax on benefits. So as it has been said before, there are many differences between cantons in Switzerland, and one of them is the tax on benefits. So you can see that the differences are quite important. For example, in Zug, the tax on benefit is 11.85%, where in Bern, the highest rate, the tax is 21.04%. So the difference can be important, almost 20% between these two cantons. Here is a print screen of the Swiss custom platform, which is called TARES. So it's a useful platform to get information about taxes on imported products. So it is based on the HS codes or the customs codes that you can see here. And you can select from where you are importing the products. For example, here we selected as example importing eggs for consumption from Slovenia, and we see that the import tariff is 47 Swiss francs per 100 kilograms for the EU country. Sorry, which is shown here, and for other countries, the tariff is 50 Swiss francs per 100 kilograms for importing eggs for consumption. Moreover, we see in red that the quotas are applicable. So it means that a certain amount of this product can be imported during a certain period in Switzerland. So you have to take that into account as well. Just below, you have the information about the VAT rate that is applying to this category of products. Here, the reduced rate is applying for food products, so it is 2.5%. And finally, for some products, there are additional taxes that is applying for bulk imported products. Now, where to seek legal advice? Firstly, a lot of information is available through official sources such as federal offices or cantonal administrations. Often this information are available in the 3 official languages, so German, French, and Italian, sometimes also in English. So it is useful to consult these sources, but often the difficulty is to identify the relevant information and to be able to interpret this information. Another source of information mentioned by Oliver before are sector federations. So it is a good source of information, but for most of them, you need to become a member to access to the full content they are providing. Also mentioned before by Sirpa and Oliver, the investment promotion agencies such as Switzerland Global Enterprise, Greater Zurich Area, etc. They can also provide useful advice as their role is to attract new business in Switzerland. However, they have a sectoral approach, so it means they will help only companies active in specific sectors that they are targeting. And also you have to keep in mind that they want to attract investment in Switzerland, so they will not help you to import in Switzerland. Chamber of Commerce can also be of help. Today's action is a good example. And also lawyers and notaries, which are experts, they can provide legal advices. However, in Switzerland, their services are very expensive, and it can go from 300 to 400 euro per hour, even more in some regions. So I would recommend to use their services only when your project requires a precise answer or when it is mandatory to do it. Finally, consultancy companies can offer an adapted support. The big 4 companies are present almost everywhere, and they are able to cover all the requests and act as a one-stop shop for your demands. But on the other hand, their services are often quite expensive as well, and it is not always adapted for SMEs. And the last one, you can also go through other smaller advisory companies, such as fiduciaries or business development firms. They know well their own activities, and they can rely on other local partners for specific requests. So it is also a good source of information. Well, before exporting to Switzerland, how you can check check if you meet all the requirements. So for goods, we recommend to do a checkup of possible tariffs and non-tariff trade barriers for your product. You can use the platform, the European platform Access to Market, which is useful to see this information. We will share the links of this platform at the end of the presentation. And as we have seen before on the Swiss customs platforms called TARES, you can also access to all these informations. So it is important to take into account this element because it will have an impact on your price setting. And then you can also check with your transport partner or with your customs agency if you need an EORI number to export in Switzerland. So EORI number is the Economic Operator Registration and Identification Systems that apply in Europe and also in Switzerland. When providing services, in most of cases, you need a fiscal representative to represent you in Switzerland. So it has to be done by someone who is based in Switzerland. It can be a company or a normal person. So they will declare to the Swiss tax administration the turnover that you are realizing in Switzerland and declare the VAT amount that you need to pay back to the Swiss fiscal authorities. Related to the realization of a project in Switzerland, if you have to send worker in the countries, specific rules apply, and that's what we will see in the next section, how to post worker in Switzerland. So indeed, as Switzerland is not part of the EU, it imposes strict requirements to foreign companies for posting worker in Switzerland. The reason why is that they want to prevent social dumping from foreign companies. So the first element is that there is an obligation to announce the employees sent in Switzerland 8 days before they come in Switzerland. So it is applicable to several sectors such as construction, restaurant and hotels, cleaning services, security services, but there are others as well. Secondly, the working period is limited to 90 days per calendar year. So you can do more than this time in Switzerland unless you get a special authorization, but it is very rare that you can get this special authorization. In addition, wages need to be adapted to the Swiss minimum standards, so it will depend on some criteria such as the education, the experience, and the position of the employees that are posted in Switzerland. Often the working condition and minimal wages applicable are defined in collective labor agreement, and some additional costs can also apply, such as surety bonds or enforcement fees. So you need to take that into account before sending workers in Switzerland. It will also affect the price of your services toward Swiss customers. Finally, independent workers or self-employed are not submitted to these requirements, but the controls are strict because some abuses have been seen in the past, and sometimes the status of self-employed is rejected by local authorities, even if in the home country they are considered as self-employed. So I'm done for the main part. Here we have gathered some useful links that are mentioned during the presentation in order for you to access directly to this helpful information. We also added a description of each of these source of information. I won't go into details, but you will receive the presentation in the coming days, I believe. So, and here we have also add the links toward the investment promotion agencies because they provide a lot of useful information for free as well. So you can check their website to get more information. Well, so I'm done for my presentation. I think that we agree with Oliver that the question will be at the end of the next presentation done by Michel.